The realm of shadow, hidden beneath the branches of the great shadow tree. It's said that these lands hold the gate of divinity, where the brave can become gods. Let's go see if anyone's doing that. We begin in the original game, because first we have to find the DLC. Spoiler alert, it's only accessible behind the boss fight with Mohg at his Blood Palace, normally deep in the game. And in my case, I had taken my endgame character to New Game Plus, so they were a start game character. So for reference, my fairly minimal boss route just to get to the DLC from the start was to exploit an NPC questline. White Mask is right at the start of the game, and he moves to Rauh's church after we meet the Two Fingers and get a great rune. At that point, he'll give us a festering finger we can use to invade other players, or defeat an NPC at some ruins on Altus Plateau. Since killing Radahn is also required to reach the DLC, and reaching Altus is one way to trigger his festival, bum rushing both Deckness medallions or defeating the Magma Worm and climbing the ruin-strewn precipice to do so will open the path to both Radahn's Great Rune and to the Wraithblood ruins afterwards for that invasion if you want to do it offline. When we complete the invasion, White Mask gives us a white mask to turn red with Maiden Blood. Weird, but we can find a Maiden Corpse. There are ways. There are even ways to create one ourselves, but you don't want to know about that, believe me. The easiest to find is either via the Four Belfries, where we can use a key to teleport back to the Chapel of Anticipation at the start of the game and soak that blood, or at the Frenzied Flame Village, provided our brain survives the approach. When we reveal our recently reddened rag, White Mask gives us a Pure Blood Knight's Medal to warp directly to Mohg. Kill him, and we can approach Miquella's gestation pod, which Mohg allegedly egg-napped, touch his withered hand, and say, "Talk to me." Welcome to the Realm of Shadow. Similar to the base game, this world is wide open with few progression blocks to reach the end if you know what you're doing. The trick is that our stats from the main game are comparatively downscaled here, meaning if we don't gather up some Shadow Tree fragments around the world to raise what is effectively our separate DLC level, we'll stand little chance of victory. First, let's focus on the main route, then cover the surroundings. We begin in the Gravesite Plain. There's an obvious road leading past Burning Man across the playa to a three-way crossroad. From here, two legacy dungeons are nearby. Bellerot Tower Settlement is to the left, and Castle Ensis looms to the right. There's no guidance of grace in the Shadowlands, but I'm an alphabetical sort, so let's hit Bellerot first. Past the gate, there's an entrance hall curving around to the actual settlement area. Out here, the basic idea is to find a lift, head up to the rooftops, and double back along the upper route to a tower that takes us up to a large arena. Along the way, there's a well-depths key we can find to descend to the poisonous swamp we see so often in these games for some optional goodies. The boss above is the Dancing Lion, but afterwards we're hit with the first of two major DLC roadblocks, a tower sealed by shadow. A note says Miquella is trying to reach the Gate of Divinity within, and that following his crosses east may reveal the path there. We've already come across a couple crosses, but we'll cross the realm in order to cross off more golden crosses and learn why the Golden Order got double-crossed. Now, east from the three-path cross leads to the aforementioned Castle Ensis. Compared to Bellerot, this is a straightforward fortress. There's an open sort of courtyard with a bridge over the water to the castle proper, where we get inside and follow the battlements around to the perimeter to the moon-gazing grounds. Here we battle Renala's Hermana, Rellana, the twin Moon Knight. Past Ensis is the next tier of the world, so to speak, Scadu Altus. Also, Ensis and Rellana can be entirely skipped with the Spirit Spring at the Fort of Reprimand over here. There's lots to find around Altus, but one thing at a time. Nearby is the High Road Cross, and straight ahead is the majestic Shadow Keep. When we approach, we get a random message about a great rune has broken, which can mostly be ignored, don't worry. The main gate is ahead, but there's an alternate way around to the back. If we visit Morth Ruins near Ensis, we'll find a descending path to the disturbing Bonny Village. It reminds one of the old proverb, when is a man not a man? When it's ajar. There's the traditional shaman whipping hut in the center of town with horrible vibes. Of importance here is the "Oh Mother" gesture we can find by one of the headless effigies. Up the cliffside path past the village are a couple landmarks and a tunnel path into Shadow Keep. The Great Rune breaks if we come around this way also, by the way. But back to the main gate. As we enter, we face the Golden Hippo/Porcupine. Afterwards, we climb into the western innards of the castle complex and make our way up to the main walkway, with a shortcut back at the bottom of the stairs. Ahead is the Specimen Storehouse, a sprawling but dense multi-level interior with confusing walkways and giant statue things. The idea is to adjust the statues as we climb so we can eventually cross over to the other tower and confront Mesmer in his dark chamber. However, this area has a lot of ins, a lot of outs. Let's break it down. First of all, the entire eastern church district of the keep is flooded, but similar to New Londo, it's possible to open the drain and explore the soggy grounds. It's reachable via that alternate tunnel entrance, and draining the water allows us to head directly to specimen storage without the greeter boss. Thus, this route's often called the Drippy Hippo Skipper. When doing this, we can also discover an elevator in the titular church of the formerly flooded church district. That will lead to the tree worship passage and an optional avatar boss at the Shadow Tree base far below. We might also find, via the church district and storehouse loft, a route to the keep's back gate. There's an exit to the Shadow View region nearby, and also, as the developer's Shaman Name and message may gently suggest, using our O Mother gesture from Bonnie Village in front of Marika's statue here opens a hidden passage to the eastern hinterlands. Finally, from the keep's front walkway, we can descend a ladder and find an evanescent wall leading back outside to a shallow basin called the ruins of the Castle Watering Hole, notable for the fallen golem out front. If you're a daredevil, you can craft a hefty furnace pot and bring him back to life. Otherwise, he'll remain frozen without our touch, and the ruins stay inaccessible. He isn't the only golem out here, so tread carefully or you'll end up facing the rarely seen golem gank. But back to business. Mesmer is our primary target, so we climb up and take him out. As a reward, we get his flame to use later. By the way, this whole keep is Shadow instead of Shadu in this case, apparently because the latter spelling is ancient and Mesmer wanted to use the parlance of his times. But now that Mesmer is dead, time to 23 Scadu. On the lower floors of the specimen storehouse is an exit to the western ramparts, where this long bridge leads to the beautiful and altitudinally striking ruins of Rauh. Note that there is a teleporter behind Castle Ensis which gets us here faster, but since messing with Mesmer is a must for mastery, it doesn't do much good to skip him. This area is an outdoor dungeon that weaves through multi-story ruins inside the plateau. There's a path to a staircase down to the lower cliffs, or we can bail straight over the waterfall. Spirit springs get us to the lowest level with a broken bridge across the valley. On the far side, this golem is in perfect position to nuke us with flame tornadoes on our way across, so navigate around him and we can re-enter the ruins to an upper shelf and cross over to more cave ruins, this time filled with rot and bugs. In here we can get an elevator to the very top, and emerge near the Church of the Bud with the Scorpion Lady Romina inside as the next major boss. There's actually another boss nearby if we take the elevator to the top of the grand staircase and cross past the giant archers. A second dancing lion waits in the standing ruins midway. So we see to defeating Romina and see a sealing tree seated behind the arena. If we've bested Mesmer, we burn it to embers and unseal that Dark Tower seal. We'll automatically warp there, and various NPC questlines will break at this point if they aren't underway or finished, so beware. The sealed tower is Anir Ilim, a majestic spiraling city of divinity. We merely make our way around the spires to the final boss at the top, with a couple detours where the stairs are broken to cross the rooftops. In the final chapel before the end, we get to fight Miquella's final defenders, a squad of 2 to 5 warriors versus you and maybe 1 to 2 buddies. They are still loyal to Miquella despite their revelations and will not let your aggression stand. Afterwards is the end boss, Moog Corpse Radahn, with the infamous Miquella hopping on his back at one point for moral support. After we defeat them, I have no idea what happens. I never beat this guy. And that's it. The minimum DLC path is to jump up to Altus, use the church district to reach Mesmer, take out Romina and burn the tree, fight up through 5 guys, and take on Radahn. 4-ish bosses. But what did we miss? East of Ensis is a descending formation leading to the Elak River that runs deep underneath the Gravesite Plain. If we follow that river south, we'll pass a burning man and discover the Cerulean coast. It's all blue and all open. Visually striking, but somewhat empty in the true spirit of Elden Ring. To the south is a big fissure called the Fissure, and further down it's clarified as the Stone Coffin Fissure. Way at the bottom is a putrescent boss and the NPC St. Trina, or a fog barrier that's sealed and obscured by Miquella if the Great Rune wasn't broken yet. St. Trina is part of a side quest, and careful, there's a beverage here that will kill you. To the far west we'll find the Finger Ruins of Rhea. The game has a thing about fingers. Whatever. We'll be back. So that's the far south. Also, east of the Ensis entrance is the Dragon Pit, one of those dungeons that emerge elsewhere, specifically the Dragon's Pit Terminus, a gnarly rock arch leading to the foot of the jagged peak. Up ahead, the Dragon Zone announces itself with a Dragon Brawl. From here, 2 roads. To the south is Charo's hidden grave, and more immediately, a humongous dead dragon. And afterwards, again, not a whole lot in this region of note. It's all red with these cyan stickleys stuck around. The other road past the dueling dragons leads up to the jagged peak along an epic and poorly illustrated path past more dragons and more dead dragons and increasing red lightning storms. When we finally arrive at the top, it's anyone's guess what we'll find. Note that this dreadful dragon is also responsible for previously ripping off 2 of the Dragon Lord's 3 missing heads, and he thinks they're quite fashionable. Elsewhere in Altus, we can go north of Morth for a cave to the Rauh base area, far below the ancient ruins. Mikola breaks the Great Rune if we go this way too. At the far end of the river, full of scorpions, is the Scorpion River Catacombs. Back at Shadow Keep, the hidden unpronounceable ruins area splits off to another deep river, with a cliff path down to the Dark Light Catacombs. Completing this dungeon will lead us down to the Abyssal Woods. Lots of tall dead trees here in a foreboding mood. Torrent is too frightened to come out down here. The game wants us to sort of stealth through the area using tall grass, although the enemies can be killed if you parry their grab attack. At the far end is Midra's Manse, an ominous but fairly compact manor with Midra himself waiting for a frenzied boss battle within. Now, to wrap up those bits around the Shadow Tree. Out the keep's back gate is a battle with Commander Gaius riding his pig, and after that is a big old wall and a nice shadow view. That's about it. In the hinterlands, we can explore the picturesque Shaman village where the Bonnie victims originated, and further out is another field of digits, the Finger Ruins of Deo. Past Bonnie village earlier, we passed the Cathedral of Manus Metter. In there, we can start an NPC quest to get a grip on those Finger Ruins. We'll get a map to Rhea where we can blow a big whistle, then return and get a map to Deo where we can blow a big whistle. And that opens an underground passage to the third and final Finger Ruins of Mir, where we blow a big whistle. That takes us to the Finger Birthing Grounds, where we can grapple with the Mother of Fingers. Lastly, the Burning Mans. Furnace Golem is the preferred nomenclature. There are 8 field bosses comparable in size to the Fire Giant, since he has bad posture, and I've already mentioned some of them, but here's the full list. The Poster Boy right at the start, 2 guarding the paths to the Shadow Keep, 2 in the ruins below Shadow Keep, 1 in the middle of Rauh Ruins, 1 at the southern end of the underground river, and 1 in the red zone past the dead dragon. There's no walking mausoleums or everjails in this realm, and relatively few catacomb-type places, since we already had a lot of those. But one new dungeon subgenre are the 3 ruined forges, with lava-laden platformy bits and cool weird enemies. Alright, that's most of the major stuff in the DLC. For this last bit, we'll take a step back and consider the map alongside the main campaigns. The main game has 3 huge areas to semi-freely explore at the start, and NPCs to push you towards Stormvale, then Lucaria, and that's enough for 2 great runes. The Dectus Medallions and Mistwood and the Dragon Barrow will get us up, or we can fight up the ruins. Altus is the second phase of the game. Lendel is the obvious next destination, but Mount Gelmir also looms. It isn't really until we hit the capital gate that the Great Rune requirement is actually made clear. Also, I'm sorry for shunning the subterranean shutting grounds in my Elden Ring video. Here are the subterranean shutting grounds. After Morgott, Melina pushes us to the mountaintops, and it's fairly linear from there. The mountaintops in Far Missoula are the third endgame phase, and we finish in Lendel once more. The Haligtree exists as an optional high challenge area, and the 3 underground zones have Astel, Godwyn, and Moog as the local gods to punctuate their environmental storytelling. The DLC is primarily made up of 2 huge hub areas, with Scadu Altus leading everywhere. At the Gravesite Plain, going to Bellerat seems important, but it's effectively optional. When we go there, it just points us elsewhere. Ensis can be circumvented like Stormvale with a big jump, and Scadu Altus connects everywhere else. This is the abbreviated second phase of the game, where we can discover all those optional areas, although not all of them are bursting with activity. The game kind of builds up Mesmer as the big boss, and then we get pointed back across the map after we beat him. Rauh and Anir Lim are linear endgame phase 3 this time. Rauh in particular to me feels like the most successful adaptation of the Souls level design ethos to an open outdoor space. The red and blue coasts are lovely aesthetic zones that are kinda missing something, but Jagged Peak, the Abyssal Woods, and the Finger Ruins quest all had some nice end bosses that really tied the zone together. There's no explicit underground cities this time, but 2 rivers run underneath the realm like the village of Albinorix did, and connect some of the random little corners you can spy on from high above earlier on. And finally, this thing is the suppressing pillar, with a note at the top that says, the very center of the lands between, even though we're in the Shadow Realm. The obvious temptation here is to line them up, to see if the DLC was like a big donut hole cut out of the middle of the landmass. But where's the very center? I've seen people using the divine pillars to draw a hexagon and putting the pillar in the middle. When I draw a big circle around the playable area, the center of the circle is almost the same, but it's pretty chaotic and messy. If we cheat the center southwest a little bit, it looks better along the northern coast, but there's still lots of sprawling overlap to the south. Ultimately, it doesn't seem to matter too much. These lands likely were connected by something along these lines in the past, but things have shifted and it isn't as simple as a puzzle piece anymore. And that's Shadow of the Erdtree. Thanks for watching.